And mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it. So what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage. The 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all.
Yo, what's the deal, big people? What's the deal, ladies? What's the deal? I be cracking myself up for no apparent reason. You ever just like be talking and just laugh at yourself? That happens a lot. Anyway, what's the deal, y'all? What's the deal, ladies? What's the deal, gentlemen? What's the deal, fellas? What's the deal, women, guys, the gals, all the good people? Thank y'all, everyone, for tuning in to today's show. Chill Will Radio. It's cold in here. It's getting cold in here. It was super fucking foggy this morning, yo. Real foggy this morning, like extremely foggy. Like I couldn't even see in front of my car type foggy. That was kind of dangerous, but it is what it is. It's cold in here this morning. I got the good old heater going on this morning. Making sure I stay warm and hopefully don't get too hot up in the studio. But hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody started the week is doing well. Hope everybody's Thanksgiving went well. Hope everybody's Monday went well. Time to get back to work. Time to get back to life. Life don't really stop. It just kind of keeps going. But first and foremost, I'm doing good. As you can see, I don't have no glasses on today. I haven't been wearing glasses for the past few days since like Saturday, really. Yeah, since like Saturday. These contacts is so fucking annoying. The only reason why I'm wearing contacts is because, for skydiving, I can, but like I'm not about to keep wearing glasses while I'm skydiving. I'm about to learn snowboarding soon. I obviously can't wear glasses while I'm snowboarding because I'm gonna have goggles on top of them. But it's hard as fuck to put these contacts in. Like, oh my gosh, it's so extremely difficult to put these contacts in and take them out. I'm spending an extra 20 minutes at night and in the morning to put them in and take them out because it's just it's like I'm stabbing myself in the eye. But it'll get easier over time. I'm going to complain because sometimes, like, after taking my contacts out, my eyes are like extremely red. I'm like, I'm over here really abusing my eyeballs right now. But it is what it is. So it's a change. But first and foremost, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. The end of the year is approaching, right? Tomorrow's the first. Thursday, I turn 30. And things are going to have to change. Right? Things are going to have to change. There's a direction that I know that I need to make sure I go. It's just a matter of getting to it. And a lot of the times myself, I come up with all these excuses in the world to kind of just put it off. Right? And frankly, I'm in a great space right now, but I would be in a even better space if I just got to it. Right? If I just got to it, I think I have become accustomed to using work as an excuse, right? Using work as an excuse to not fully go on and do something. I have, anxiety things going on. There's like, a small bit of self-esteem stuff going on there. And there's all these little barriers that are in the way that causes me to kind of not do the things that I know I need to do. And at the end of the day, it's just all about two things: focus and do you really want it? Well, really one thing at the end of the day. Do you really want it? Like, do you really want the things that you know you should have, the things that you think about all the time, the direction you know you need to go, right? Because there are many folks who get it. And the simple fact that many folks do get it, the simple fact that many folks do win in certain environments, that just means you can win as well, right? There's no lack of like confidence or anything, because I know life has shown me that whatever I put my mind to and just do it, I'm gonna get it done, and I'm gonna be great at it. But it's just a matter of doing this shit. The starting part is like, but once you find that rhythm, once you find that not even the motivation, because I hate waiting on motivation. Like motivation will have you waiting for a while, right? You just got to get started. Whatever excuse is there, you just got to say fuck it, and for me, it's about starting those in slow increments, right? You don't want to just start everything today and try to go all out today. Like, nah, start slow and build your way up, just like anything else. Because more so than anything, you're trying to turn the thing that you're trying to do into a lifestyle or into a habit or something that, you can't go a day without working on. That will happen not by doing everything in one day, but by doing the small things and gradually increasing how often or how much you focus on this one little thing. So, turn 30 December, in a good space mentally and where I turn 30. There's a lot of things that I need to know. There's a lot of things that I need to do, and 30 is going to be a good decade. About to turn fucking 30. That's wild. That is wild. But more so than anything else, man, I'm happy. I'm proud of myself for what I've accomplished thus far. Where I go moving forward is fully on me. 1,000%. And that's just with anything else in life, right? With what you have going on, what you have and where you're going moving forward. It's 1,000% on you. So put forth the effort, put forth the energy. Ask yourself, do you really want it? And just get to it. At the end of the day, just get to it. Don't wait on the motivation. Don't wait to be inspired. Don't wait on none of that stuff, because that stuff will have you waiting for a very, very, very long time. You just gotta go. All right. So the thing that I wanted to speak about today is obviously with the title, "You Are Not Your Environment." I was having a discussion with a coworker yesterday. Yeah, I was having a discussion with a coworker yesterday. What is more dominant as to what will increase the risk of someone being mentally ill, or if someone suffering from some form of mental disorder and their mental health being off. Obviously, you have two things. You have genetics. Sometimes it's there. Sometimes it runs in the family. Sometimes you have a generation of psychosis or depression or anxiety or whatever the case is. And then sometimes you just have the environment which fucks you up, right? And from my experience, from what I've seen, like, yeah, your genetics has a part to play in it, but just because you may be genetically predisposed to having depression or anxiety or schizophrenia or whatever the case is, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen, right? You may be genetically predisposed to like diabetes, but that doesn't mean you're going to get it. The things that you're doing in your life will prevent it, just like the things that you're doing in your life will prevent the depression and things like that. So that's where the environment for me comes into play. That's where the environment for me is more important, right? Because I believe you can change a lot of things internally if your environment matches up with the direction that you want to go into, right? If your environment is chaotic, you're probably going to be chaotic. If your environment is peaceful, you're probably going to be peaceful, right? If the relationships, the things that you put around yourself is very uplifting and motivational and inspiring, you're going to be that person, right? You are the people who you are around. You are the home that you live in. If you live in a dirty home, you might just be a dirty person. Cleaning it up, cleaning up your room is just another way of cleaning up your life, right? Start in small increments. And what happens a lot of times is, especially, and I see this a lot of time in children, a huge amount of time in children. I come across kids who may have depression or anxiety or believing that they want to kill themselves and you know, they're aggressive and all of these other things. And I'm like, okay, but then when you speak to the parent, you're like, oh, I see what the deal is, right? Ain't nothing wrong with this person. Ain't nothing wrong with this kid. This individual is just coping with the environment that they are in. And that's an important thing to understand, because if you take that person out of the environment, what does that do to that individual's symptoms? What does that do to that individual's mindset? What does that do to that individual's, I don't want to say problem, but challenge, right? What does that do to that individual? And I believe it helps you, right? Because sometimes, a lot of the times, we live in comfortable places, but those comfortable places are not healthy places. Those comfortable places could sometimes cause us to be a little bit more lazy, cause us to be in a very violent environment. But because we've known violence our whole life, violence is normal, right? That comfortable place can cause you to procrastinate. That comfortable place can cause your life to get ahead of you. And now you're not at the place where you want to be, right? Or you're extremely depressed and you isolate and your anxiety is high. Like, isolating and being by yourself is extremely comfortable, especially when you learn how to be alone. It's extremely comfortable. Is it healthy? Nah. Right? So there's certain things within that area that we have to understand that our environment can kind of increase the risk of what direction you may go. Right? So some of the things you need to be mindful of: how chaotic is your environment, right? Or even how to know if your environment needs to change. If a change is needed in your environment, how chaotic is it? How often are you overwhelmed? How often are you depressed? How often are you anxious, right? How often do you think that, how often do you have those thoughts that I don't want to go home, or I'm going to sit in my car for a few more minutes because I think such and such might be asleep by the time I get into the house? How often does that does that happen? How often do you come up with excuses to not go home or excuses to not deal with the specific person? How often do you do that? If you catch yourself doing that, often, every time you come across this person or every time you go home, whatever the case is, if you catch yourself doing the things to get away from a negative feeling, then maybe you might need a change in your environment, right? That goes back into what I was saying earlier. Just because something is comfortable, that doesn't mean that it is healthy. And sometimes that situation just has to be changed because it's not a healthy environment. You're comfortable to it because you're comfortable with it because you've been living in it for years, but that doesn't mean shit, right? Just because you lived in an area for years, that doesn't mean anything. You can still die on that block. Just because your homie had your back for years doesn't mean anything. He could still be disloyal, right? So I think the biggest thing, and when it comes to how to understand if a change is needed, ask yourself questions, specific questions. How often do I get mad? How often do I feel triggered? How often do I feel overwhelmed? How often am I depressed? How often am I sad? You know, do I avoid to come home? Do I avoid to be with a person? What is it? But a lot of the times, and many people, change is quote unquote not possible, right? And what I mean by that is change is not possible because you may have no job and you may live in a home in which is crazy, but because you don't have a job and you don't have the income to get out, change is just not possible at this point. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, go be homeless, right? You might be in a situation in which you're in a relationship that you really love this person, but his energy is not there, and you're not getting anything from this person. You begin to feel like things is changing, right? Moments of silence, right? Not moments of silence, but sorry, not moments of silence. That's a little bit later. But when you're in moments in which you can't get any silence, there you go. When you're in moments in which you can't get any silence and you can't get any peace, maybe the environment needs to be changed. But a lot of us are not able to change those environments because of our relationships, because of our home, because the job, the boss is ridiculous, and I'm not just gonna quit because I have bills. When these things happen, it's important that you focus on the small things, right? Those moments of silence, right? Organizing your room, right? Finding people to connect with, right? Taking your time and doing something outside of work that will allow you to not go home as quickly because you're doing something that benefits you, something that you enjoy. Because when you're in those places in which you can't get out, those small things will help. I don't want to say blind you, but take you away. There we go. Those small things will help take you away from the things that you know you need to get away from, right? Because at the end of the day, in order for you to get to something good, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice something in order to get something good at it. This might be an individual. This person might be an individual that you has had your back for years and never done you wrong and all of these other things, but his lifestyle is just boring. You know, or this individual just comes with problems. Right? You may have to sacrifice that friend. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to do what you have to do to change the environment so that way you don't become the environment. You don't become chaotic. You don't become anxious. You don't become depressed. Right? So, all in all, the one thing, yes, there is a relationship between mental health and genetics, but from my perspective, from my experience, the environment is a little bit more heavier than the genetics. Yeah, the genetics may cause you to be predisposed, but if you're not put in that environment for that gene to kind of prosper, then the shit don't really matter, right? And if you're in that position, change it. The biggest thing is that you can change it. No matter what you think you can't do, you absolutely can. It don't matter if you're in a house that you can't get out of. Change what goes on outside of the house. Focus on the little things, right? There's always a way to get through something. You just have to figure it out and push through it. All right? So, as always, y'all, thank y'all for listening and tuning in. Good looking, good looking, good looking. Always remember, y'all, ain't no wealth without your mental health. So please stay blessed. Take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Peace.
Thank you.